You damn right. We are ready. Well, we're almost ready. Hang on. Why does the screens? Because I didn't hit the right. Now we're almost ready. Oh, come on. Let's get there. Now we're ready. Now we're ready. See, you get smart ass with it. You try to come in and say you're ready, and then you're not ready. It is the recruiting hour. I'm Chad Hastings. That is
We're
Jason
kind of
Smith.
house divided too, though. I went to University of Texas, so we're
That's
kind of
true.
house
We
divided.
are. Yeah. Look, pretty much anytime I'm on a show on Orange Bloods Live, it is a house divided. We understand that. Cotton is ready to go. Jared is ready to go as well. We are glad that everybody is here, and we just get a woohoo from Trip. We could start out that way too. Trip on two wheels. Very nice, Trip. I hope it's a nice set of two wheels. Get on in that Specs chat. They're going to be piling in, I'm sure. Big recruiting weekend to talk about, but also we are crossing our fingers for a special guest, and it is commitment number 11 for the 2025 class for Texas, Mr. Caleb Chester, the cornerback from Fort Bend Marshall. If you watch that film, Jason, his huddle footage almost has a Missouri feel to it in terms of that helmet with that block M on it. But it's pretty impressive stuff. He's going to be coming up at 4:15 or 15 minutes into the video if you're watching later. So hopefully that's coming up. We'll get to some of the recruiting stuff. But Jason, you were the one that got this thing set up. Caleb Chester. Hopefully we get to talk to him. I know you've said he's a cool kid to talk to.
He is. I've been texting with him today, so I think it'll work out, barring any hiccups. And I was thinking about it, Chad. In the times we've done the recruiting hour, and I know you and Ketch do it sometimes, and then before this, Cole Patterson and I don't know if you remember Cole, worked for Orange Bloods. He and I used to do a video once or twice a week called Crewcast, and never once did we have a guest on. So Caleb will be our first ever guest. We hope Caleb pops in, but he'll be a good one to start with. I mentioned it to you. Well, I think it was just yesterday, or I guess Monday, maybe. I don't remember yesterday when it was, but really good player. I like him as a player, but really cool kid. So he's just respectful. He's available. He'll be a good guy to start with, I think. So.
Nice. Can't wait to start to talk to him. And Cotton is predicting a future 4-star for Chester.
I'm with Cotton on that. I'm going to talk to Caleb about that, but I think his ranking is going to catch up to him. I think right now Rivals and I think everybody has him at 3-star, but I think as people get to watch him more this fall, I could see him jumping into that 4-star territory.
All right. We will watch for Caleb jumping in. If he comes in early, we'll get him in early, but 4:15 is what we're shooting for. So between now and then, we will also talk about the first of two big weekends. Jason, you've been telling people for a while now about June 14th. June 21st, the big weekend. So we're cruising up on the 14th, Father's Day weekend, obviously. That's on Sunday. Shout out to all the good dads out there. And I'm sure there'll be some dads bringing commits to Texas on Friday and Saturday for this weekend. So on the 14th, we've got a big time group. I guess we got to start where we usually start. Ketch and I were talking today that there may be some that are a little fatigued on hearing about DeCorian Moore, but I know the Texas coaches are not fatigued discussing DeCorian Moore because he's a big deal. He is coming in this weekend.
Yeah, this will be a big opportunity for Texas. You mentioned Father's Day, and I need to talk to Sark now that before I start talking about DeCorian, because this happened last year. They had a big recruiting weekend on Father's Day. So you know what my Sunday is going to be? Father's Day. I'm going to be sitting at the airport stalking recruits as they go through security. That's what it's become, covering official visit weekend. So that'll be my Sunday. I need to tell Sark, like, hey, dude, do me a solid. Do us all a solid. Like A&M last week had a lot of guys come in Thursday through Saturday. Hey, let's do that maybe next year. And so I can enjoy my Father's Day and have my kids spoil me for one day out of the year. But
you know what? Why not incorporate like an Easter weekend like the baseball season does, right? They go Easter weekend, but they don't play on Easter Sunday.
That's right.
There you go. Yeah. Thursday, Friday, Saturday. I like that
everything
idea.
up today. I'm on board with it. But but all seriousness, so you know what? My Father's Day gift might be getting out of the house sometimes, Chad. That's
right.
That's a gift in itself when I've got 4 kids running around at home for summer break. But talking about DeCorian, obviously we talk about him all the time. The wide receiver from Duncanville, the 5-star receiver, the #1 player in the state. Some would probably argue that you could make a case for him to be the #1 player in the country. He visited Ohio State 2 weeks ago. Last weekend, he was at LSU. LSU kind of crept back into the picture. He's a former LSU commitment, of course. this is an important weekend for Texas, obviously. I mean, anytime you get a player of his caliber on campus, but Ohio State did a really, really good job. LSU did a good enough job that they're now back in the mix after he kind of scratched them off once he decommitted. Well, they're back in play. So Texas needs to hold serve here and have a big weekend of its own. I would fully expect it to happen. This staff does a great job on official visits. We'll talk to Caleb Chester about that in a little bit, but the staff does a great job on official visits. They'll make DeCorian feel welcome. They'll make his family, his mom, I'm sure, feel welcome. I expect coming out of this weekend, we'll hear a lot of positive Texas buzz for DeCorian Moore. Does that, I still think Texas is the team to beat there. Does this weekend solidify that? Does it cement it? We'll see. He still has an Oregon visit set. I'm not expecting any big fireworks coming out of this weekend with DeCorian Moore, but if I'm able to talk to him, hopefully on Sunday, and if he says, hey, this was a great visit, it was on par or better with my previous 2 visits, I think that's about as good as you can expect for Texas. And I won't be surprised if we hear that kind of language coming out of the weekend.
I got some good chats coming in already on the Specs chat. Cotton says a cool day for dads to bring their sons in to live out that dream. That does have to be kind of cool, I guess, if you're there on that Sunday. A nice what's up from Blake, and Blake also saying he is looking forward to hearing from Caleb Chester. So DeCorian Moore going to be in this weekend. Some of the other big names, Jason, that we have talked about that are immediately coming to my mind. For some reason, Pettyjohn is the next name in my mind. The stud linebackers coming in this weekend too.
Yeah, good one to start with. I think he was just named. I'm pulling up his profile. I think he was named the number 1. Let's see. He is the number 1 inside linebacker in the country on Rivals.com. He's ranked number 33 nationally, so he made a big move up the recruiting rankings. Oh, he's always been pretty highly ranked, but he's now bona fide 5-star territory. He's right on that cusp of being a 5-star player as they expand out those 5-star rankings. So big weekend. You know what? Listen, I know a lot of people have thought that Riley Pettyjohn is a strong Texas lean. I think Texas is the team to beat. I've got a Texas future cast in for Riley Pettyjohn, but I've never gotten the impression in talking to Riley that it's a slam dunk the way, some fans get a little overconfident sometimes. I mean, A&M's heavily involved there. I know he likes USC. He's going to visit A&M the weekend after Texas. He visited Ohio State that same weekend that DeCorian was up there. So it's not a slam dunk. He's another one. I mean, it's another one that Texas needs to do a good job this weekend. And I think re-solidify, maybe if you would, they're standing at or near the top. I expect that'll happen. I still like Texas's chances there, but there's still work to be done with Riley Pettyjohn for sure.
By the way, Catherine jumping in with a little gossip here. Did you hear about OUD lineman Vickers been arrested by OUPD? Catherine, we had not heard that. And Catherine even corrected her spelling of the word here. Very well. Well done. We'll keep our eyes peeled on that one. In fact, I tell you what, let's go ahead and throw up a list. I think the guys in the morning were using this list coming straight from Orange Bloods. And if you want to check out the 321 article from Jason, it is there for you at orangebloods.com. We'll go ahead and throw them up on the screen here, Jason. DeCorian Moore is a little ways down the screen there, about number 6. We mentioned Pettyjohn, Lance Jackson right on top. There are what 3 Texas commits that are coming in. Let's focus in on them real quick, Jason. Lance Jackson, Ricky Stewart, and Brandon Brown all coming in this weekend. You got to feel like that's important to the coaches to have a little handful of already committed guys to come in so other recruits see that, I would imagine.
Yeah, and Lance Jackson, he'll do a good job, and Ricky Stewart. Those two are so locked in with Texas. They'll be actively recruiting for Texas on these visits this weekend. Neither one of those guys is going to visit any other schools. I mean, they both said, hey, I don't want to even hear from any other schools. We're completely locked in. Now, Brandon Brown is kind of the opposite end of that spectrum. He visited Tennessee last week. He's visited LSU in Bo Davis. He saw them a couple weekends ago. I think he's got Texas, and then I believe it's USC. He's still got a USC visit, I think, after Texas. So he's committed, Chad, but I mean, really, you got to call it a soft commitment at best. Anytime a guy's taking that many other official visits. So this will be a real chance for Texas. Yes, it's USC on the 21st he visits. So this will be a real chance for Texas to kind of tighten that up maybe a little bit. He's met Kenny Baker, the new defensive tackles coach, but you remember he committed to Bo Davis, who's of course, now at LSU. So this will be a chance for Texas to get him on campus, get his mom on campus. I'm not sure who all else would be coming. Maybe his brother, I'm not sure, but get all those guys together and just say, hey, we get it. Bo Davis was a big draw for you, but there's a lot of things about Texas, that led you to commit here, starting with academics, the city of Austin. So it'll be a good chance, I think, for Texas to maybe try to close that door a little bit. Who knows? Maybe if it goes really well, maybe he says, you know what, I don't need to take that USC visit on the 21st. We'll see. I think Brandon's enjoying the process. I expect he will take that visit, but they've really got to combat. I mean, Tennessee did a good job, but I do think LSU is the main threat there to flip his commitment. And Brandon's told me as much, that LSU is the biggest threat. So this will be a big weekend. Big defensive tackle. It's a need position for Texas. We'll see coming out of the weekend if Texas can win him over enough to maybe reel him back in and kind of solidify that commitment a little bit.
Very cool. All right, Jason, the old saying about if you're not early, you're late, that kind of a vibe. How about like 5 minutes early, 4 minutes early? I'm
not surprised. I told you, Chad.
I'm already seeing Caleb Chester clicking in here. Caleb, give me a thumbs up if you're ready to go. We ready? We good? Hey, he says he's ready to go. This is why we tell you to you got to get in on the beginning of the show, because sometimes they may come on a little early. Ladies and gentlemen, number 11 on that commit list for Texas is Caleb Chester. Caleb, welcome to the show. Thank you for the time. How are you?
I'm good. How y'all?
Man, we're doing well. Jason, I will let you start it off.
Yeah, Caleb. First off, Caleb and I have talked on the phone. I don't think I've ever met. We've never Zoomed. So, Caleb, good to kind of see your face and put a face with the voice, so to speak, and rocking the burnt orange gear. I like it. I like that you're early. Listen, I'm going to brag on you a little bit, Caleb, before we start asking questions, okay? And Chad's going to back me up on this. I'm not just saying it because you're here, dude. I've done Q&As. Chad and I have done them on the show. I said a few things. I think Caleb Chester is underranked by the recruiting services, including Rivals.com, who we work for, okay? I think the recruiting rankings are going to catch up to your talent. But I've also said the reason I wanted to have you on this show, he's a high character kid. Look at, man, he shows up not on time. He shows up early. He brings a lot to the table outside of the field, just in terms of your personality, your character. Caleb, we were talking, we've been doing these shows, or I have for a couple of years, dude. You're the first recruit I've ever had on. So that's a feather in your cap. And I did that because we were talking about you after your commitment yesterday. I was like, man, this dude's not just a good football player. He's actually a really good high quality young man. So congratulations to you for all of it. But let's just kind of start talking about your commitment. I know people want to hear you talk and not me. So just talk about the easy question. I mean, what was it that led you to commit to Texas? I guess that was just yesterday. My days blend together. But what was it that led you to pick Texas over, would you have roughly 35-ish offers? So what was it about Texas that made that the choice for you?
I'll probably say it was really the off field things, because no matter where you go, you're gonna have an opportunity to get on the field, compete with big time guys, all with the same goal to get to the league. But the thing about Texas, it's a win-win, because the end goal is always to get to the league. But if you don't, graduating with a degree from a school like Texas will just set you up in the long run for life. And just Austin, just the living space, the area, the Macomb School of Business, all the things above, things of that nature, just how they interact with my family and me. I'd probably say it was the off-field things that led me to just choose Texas over everyone else.
Yeah, you and I, sorry, Chad, if you don't mind, you and I have talked about it, Caleb. You want to study business, and you've said, even I think it was back in April when you and I talked, you said, hey, that's a big deal for you, obviously. So how much did they show you that even on your official visit last weekend? How much did you guys do a tour of it? Did they really stress the importance and the prestige of the Macomb School? I mean, how big of a factor was that for you?
Yes, sir. It was a real big factor for me, and they knew that coming in. So they was really stressing it a lot, showing it a lot to me. I was in a lot of business meetings, showing me around the building, showing me how far I would live from the school and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
Caleb, I think somebody was reading Jason's article talking about that business school. Vivek says, congrats, Caleb. Great decision to do business at Texas. It's known all over the country. It certainly is. I wanted to ask you about kind of a timeline of things for the people that, they think about these trips, man. It's such a dream for you guys to be able to come in, do the visit, and then you've decided to commit to Texas. Where along the line did it occur to you? Was it during the trip? Did you get home and kind of re-cook on everything? And then tell me about the process of deciding and maybe talking about with your family about, okay, I'm going to commit to Texas.
Yeah, my parents, they and my brother is a big role in my recruiting process. So they will always just ask me like throughout the week, every day they'll be like, just who you talk to today, or they'll just ask me certain questions like if you had to choose between so and so or Texas, who would you choose? And really for me, the answer was just always Texas. And going into the visit like a week out, Texas been my number one for a while. And I was just talking to Coach Sark and Coach Joseph all the time, just hearing from them all the time, always checking in on me. I was really liking it, and my parents was thinking the same thing too. But they didn't tell me that though; they kept that to themselves. So then Saturday evening after we got back from Top Golf, we talked as a family, and I decided that I was going to commit the next morning in my meeting with Coach Sark, and I announced it on Tuesday.
Hey, how did it go when you like Sunday when you go meet with Coach Sark? Is that like at the hotel? Do you go to his office? How did that happen? And just kind of walk us through it so we can visualize how does that conversation unfold? What's Sark's reaction when you tell him you want to commit?
Yes, sir. It was in the so all of our meetings with Sark, it was all in the hotel. It was
Okay.
this big room in the bottom of the hotel. And the night before I couldn't sleep. I was just thinking about that the whole day prior. I was just like, how I'm gonna tell him, how I'm gonna tell Coach Joseph. Like my parents just kept stressing me, and they kept asking me questions like, when is your timeline? When do you plan on committing? But little do they know I'm already committed to you. I just ain't told you yet. I was really like, my body was just, I don't know. It was a lot going through my mind. So my meeting was at 12:30 in the morning, and I had a business meeting before that. So I got out of that, then went to go talk to Coach Sark, and it was a good, like, long 25-minute conversation. And just at the end, I just let him know, I was just like, I'm coming to DKR. I want to be a Longhorn. I'm coming down to Austin. And so he was excited. He said he stood up. He said, I got to give you a hug for this. So he was laughing, screaming. And then Coach Joseph came in the room. Coach Joseph was so excited. He punched me like he hit me 10 times. I was like, oh my God.
Hey, I feel bad because you said your meeting was a little afternoon. I think I was probably blowing up your phone about that time. So, hey, Caleb, do you have some time to talk about your visit here while I'm blowing up your phone? You're actually committing to Sark, so bad timing on my part, man. So, now that you're committed, what's the next step? I mean, do you turn into a recruiter for Texas? Are there any guys you have been recruiting or you want to start recruiting? I mean, what's the next step for you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to reel in all my guys now. Like my dude, Kay Phillips, that's my dog.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Fasusi, my
Yep.
dog. So Kalik Lockett, all them guys, I'm coming after all of them. Got a real good rapport with all them, close friends with all them. So I'm coming after all of them.
This is a lot of all those guys you mentioned actually will be visiting either this weekend or next weekend. You've taken your official visit, but is there any chance you pop up back to Austin, like just for kind of an unofficial visit, just to hang out with some of those dudes? Or
Yes, sir.
okay.
And
Hey, I was going to ask you something we've talked about with you. You've got great size. You're what 6'2", right? Is that what we have you listed at?
yes, sir.
Okay. You're coming in as a cornerback, but you told me last weekend you spent time with, Coach Gideon, obviously Coach Joseph, Coach Kwiatkowski, Coach Sark, all of them. Do you see yourself as a pure 100% cornerback, or do you bring some position versatility where you could maybe play safety if you needed to be, maybe even play a nickel spot if you needed to, or do you view yourself as a pure outside cornerback?
Nah, I would say I'm extremely versatile. I'm going in as a corner, but if you wherever you need to throw me on the field, I can go make plays at any position. In the secondary safety, you need me to get back there, I can get back there. You need me to throw me in that star kind of slot position, I can get in there too. Guard them little guys, some quick twitchy guys out the slot, and on the outside, I can just lock down my island. So I really would say I can do it from anywhere.
Caleb, one of our fans, Vivek, heard you mention the name Khalid Lockett. Says, Caleb, you ever face off with Lockett? He's a beast. Get him to Texas.
No, sir.
Not
Haven't,
yet. Huh?
haven't had
So,
a chance.
Get him
so
to,
you had visits. Go ahead, Caleb. Sorry.
I'm getting to Texas so I can do that every day at practice.
There you
Oh,
go.
there
Hey,
it is. There it is.
iron,
Perfect.
iron sharpens iron, right? You guys can make each other better. So you took a visit to TCU, right? You did not make the LSU visit. Obviously, you visited Texas. You had A&M. You had Arkansas. I mean, you had offers. I'm looking like some Auburn, Florida, Oregon, Tennessee. I mean, you had some heavy hitters after you. On the football side of things, and maybe the relationships with the coaches, what was different? You mentioned academics, obviously, but what was different at Texas than some of these other big time programs that were recruiting you?
First things first is close to home, so I would say that. And then just like the scheme, the way they play, it fits my playing style, fits the way fits the way we play our scheme in high school right now. So it was just the best fit for me personally.
Caleb, we got a super chat in. Money B, thank you for that $20 super chat. Says, congrats, Caleb, from a McCombs grad. Our guy, Money B. Outside of football, what is your favorite hobby and favorite food?
Video games and mac and cheese.
Like my kids. I got teenagers, and that sounds just like my teenagers, man.
Okay, now wait a second. Are we talking Kraft mac and cheese? We talking is there a generic brand that you love? Because like my daughter's a connoisseur too. What kind do you like?
It could be Kraft mac and cheese, baked mac and cheese, cup mac and cheese. It don't matter. I'm killing it.
All right. There's mac and cheese in Austin. I guarantee you that. Guarantee.
Yeah, Kraft mac and cheese spirals. That it's something about those spirals makes it taste better. I don't know what it is, man. So, hey, Caleb, I don't know that you've never told me this had an impact on your decision necessarily, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Obviously, Texas moving to the SEC is a big story. Was that something that you thought about? And if not, I mean, what do you think about the opportunity of getting to play in the SEC?
Yes, sir. I always told my brother that, like, I'm an energetic kid. Like, I like the spotlight. I like the fans. So like I always told him, like, I'm a kid. Like, I want to get in there. I want to play in front of 100,000 people. I want all the fans to see me. I want to be on the big screen, all that. So going to school like Texas and being able to play in the SEC, it meant a lot to me. And it was really a big sway on my decision.
Cool. Caleb, McCombs grads in the chat.
Also, one of our fans says, Caleb, did the idea of playing with Arch Manning make your choice a little easier? You talked about wanting to maybe match up with Khalil Lockett in practice in the future. What about the idea of, going maybe pick six on Arch in practice someday?
I can't wait to get to that. It never really crossed my mind, but I can't wait to get to that.
Okay, there you go. Thank you for that chat, Catherine. Caleb, I wanted to ask you about just kind of the mindset now. I mean, a lot of guys, like you were going to have a schedule that they've had. You've got visits that you had, scheduled out. But you also mentioned earlier you want to maybe try to recruit some guys to Texas, talk to some guys. So give me the mindset of the timing. Why now to commit to Texas? Are you still going to take some visits? And if so, why was it important for you to commit now? Is it to kind of maybe send a message to some other recruits of what you want to do?
I would just say now is really the best time. It was just the best time for me. Like I was saying, I was just talking to my parents. UT was just it was just always the number one for me. And one thing my mom was saying, like, if you'll rather go to UT over so-and-so or UT over XYZ, why wait now when you're here now and you're loving what you're seeing? So it was just a time for me to pull the trigger.
Gotcha. All right.
I'm good. We've told Caleb we'd give him about 15 minutes. He's been generous with his time. So I do want to tell you, Caleb, I went to Texas back in the mid-90s. It's been a while, okay? And I would go to the School of Business to study because they had these nice couches, like these loungers, right? But I would usually wind up just going over there and taking a nap, man. So hopefully you'll be a better student in that building than I was, because those things were too darn comfortable, man. I'd end up just falling asleep with my textbook on my chest or something, man.
So that's your warning. The couches could be too comfortable.
That was a long time ago, dude. Those couches have long been removed, I'm sure, and probably replaced or something. But yeah.
Hey, Caleb, before we let you go, it was just announced that Pitbull is going to be a part of the SEC celebration day for Texas. Are you a music guy? Austin's live music capital of the world. Are you into music? And if so, what's your favorite right now?
Yes, sir. I'll probably say my favorite rapper right now is Bossman D-Lo. It's funny because Coach Joseph asked me the same question, and when I told him, he had no idea who I was talking about. So the whole visit, he just kept trolling me. He talking about what you listen to your boy Bossman D-Lo right now, or he would switch up the name. He'd be like Horseman D-Lo. Who you said? He just kept making the whole time about it. And I'll probably say Lil Baby and NBA Youngboy.
Gotcha. See, when you talk about those guys like that to the old people like us, it just makes us feel older, because today I was going back and listening to some old Eminem. So it's just, we're just trying to keep up with everything. But
even further, like a Run DMC. Come on, man. Let's get back like the.
I know, right? Yeah.
That's my old rap. So, well, Caleb, listen, we'll let you go enjoy the rest of your day. But first off, I want to tell you thanks. Genuinely, seriously, you're the first guy in about 2 years of doing this we've ever had on. And I'm not just saying it because you're on the camera. I said it on Orange Bloods on our message board. I said, hey, Texas fans, you're going to like Caleb Chester as you get to know him, as you get to see his personality, his character. It's not just about what he does on the field. He's going to be an asset in the locker room. That's one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, dude, and have you be our first guest. So speaking for Chad, we really appreciate it, man. Any final message before we sign you off? Any message for the Longhorn fans?
I want to let y'all know that y'all getting a hard worker, disciplined kid. I'm gonna be dedicated. I'm gonna come in every day. I'm gonna get everything I got. And people like to say a lot about that 3-star stuff, but I never been a kid to really care about rankings. And no matter who you put in front of me, I'll give them all the same amount of work. And I'm the best player in the nation, in my opinion. And y'all getting a great kid.
I'll back that up. And you know, someone in the chat right off the top said, soon to be 4-star Caleb Chester. And I think they're right, dude. I think these, the dudes who do those rankings are going to kind of catch up to you now that they're going to watch you and watch you hopefully have a strong senior season. We'll lean on those dudes a little bit, see if we can get that bumped up to 4-star, because I think you deserve it, man.
Caleb, thank you, man. Have a great rest of your day.
I too appreciate y'all.
All right. Thanks, Caleb.
That's Caleb Chester, the 11th commit in the 2025 class. And again, by my clock, he was 5 minutes early.
Yeah, dude. I told you, that doesn't surprise me because he's just that kind of guy, man. He just does things the right way. He's going to make a good impression on you. And it's like I tell my kids, hey, if you're on time, that's late. So if someone says be there at 4:30 or whatever, show up at 4:20, 4:25. So good for Caleb for showing up early, man.
That's it. And of course, our fans are, they're tough to fool sometimes. So when they have this kind of reaction to a guest, it was a pretty good guest. We appreciate Caleb Chester for giving us some time. Big congrats coming in. That was good. I think I'd heard of, what did he name? Like 3 different rappers, and I might have heard of one of them.
I don't think I'd heard of any. I'm sure my kids could probably fill me in, but I don't think I know any of them. So.
It was funny that he mentioned rap too, because just literally today, I've realized in the last week or so, there's like 2 really important Eminem albums I've just never heard. Oh. And I've been going back through them, and I'm listening to an album from 2010 today or something. And he's talking about some brand new rap. So
my music tastes have been all over the place. I was a rap guy when I was young, and then I went to like alternative rock, right, when I was in college. Now I kind of like whatever, country, beachy. I like a little bit of everything now. It's kind of a running joke in my family, like, dude, pick something. I'm just like, hey, I love it all, dude. I just love good music. So yeah, my rap days, I'm not up to speed on the top rap guys anymore, for sure.
There you go. I do love that he said the name and the coaches had no idea who he was talking about.
At least Coach Joseph didn't try to fake it, man. At least he was honest.
Be honest about it. Jared says you got to do more of those. Can't wait to follow his growth. Jared, we will. If we can set those up, we will definitely do it. It is fun to talk to those guys. And Jason, before we get back to the visits, you have talked about this through the years. You and I have been talking about recruiting for many more years than I want to actually put a number on right now. But over time, you can feel the maturity of these kids increasing, whether it's, the parents taking more time, them getting a little more detailed, but just even that last answer, to have it to be that prepared, that smooth, the delivery of it, and to telling Longhorn fans what they're going to get, that's very cool. And I'm guessing you would tell me that wasn't necessarily the case, 15, 20 years ago.
And it's still not always the case, and I'm glad he ended it with that, because one of the questions I wanted to ask him that I didn't was, hey, you tell people what Texas is getting. So he actually answered a question I wanted to ask that I didn't. But, I've said this before. I'm pretty lucky. I cover, obviously, Texas Longhorn and only Texas Longhorn recruiting. Texas traditionally recruits really good quality young men like Caleb Chester. So, every once in a while I'll interview a guy and I'll be like, okay, that one's, maybe not quite up to par with some of these other guys. But, by and large, Texas recruits high character guys, usually fairly high academic guys. Caleb wants to study business. That tells you how strong business at Texas. That tells you how strong academically he is. So, and listen, man, I've said it before. I think I say it almost every week at this point, but I've been covering recruiting for 20-something years, 22 years with Orange Bloods. I'm at a point now, Chad, I appreciate good quality young people. And I've got teenagers, right? So I appreciate good quality, respectful young people like Caleb Chester almost as much as I do as a guy that's a 5-star that's, maybe got his head in the clouds a little bit too much. So it's always refreshing to me when I talk to a good quality young man and I'm like, hey, it was really nice talking to that guy. And I enjoy those conversations.
Yeah, very cool. By the way, Teta, as always, ready to throw in a sheep joke. Chad jammed some young sheepy. Well done, Teta. Well done. That's excellent. All right. So we're going to get to some more of the visitors coming in this weekend. Let's let you hear from Specs here real quick. If you need to get stocked up for something, U.S. Open. Father's Day weekend, U.S. Open golf going on. Scotty Scheffler and others going for a major. You might need to get stocked up at Specs.
Specs same-day delivery can save the day with our Specs app or online shopping. From world-class wines to hard-to-find spirits and craft beers to gourmet foods, delicious snacks, and spectacular sweets. It's Specs. Cheers to savings.
Oh, look at here. Look who's sneaking in the chat.
I saw that, yeah.
I'm telling you to hit that thumbs up button. And Money B seeing Mr. Ketchum sneaking in the chat.
Money B, the Macomb School graduate. Now that's all. I'll always remember Money B now. So.
Hey, talk about two dudes you can't slip something by. Jeff Ketchum and Money B. That is a duo you don't want to mess with right there. Thank you for jumping in the Specs chat. Up over 350 folks in there right now. And Jason, I'll go ahead and throw that list back up there. We've talked about some of these visitors coming in. So we'll kind of reset. We talked about DeCorian Moore, the biggest name for many that's coming in this weekend. We also talked about Riley Pettyjohn. Jason, I'm all about a good line of scrimmage discussion. Lamont Rogers, how realistic a thought is that for you for Texas? Give me an update on Lamont Rogers.
It's realistic. I certainly wouldn't put Texas as a team to beat there. You know, just visited Texas A&M. He's visited Missouri. He's flat out told me Missouri is the team to beat. And I'm going to just say this. Recruiting rumors are just crazy, right? You don't always know what to believe. Hardly ever do you know what to believe, I guess. But I've heard Missouri, they want him really badly. Like some of the NIL grapevine talk numbers I've heard that Missouri presented to Lamont Rogers are just insane. I'm not going to say what they are because they're probably somewhat inaccurate, but even if they're remotely close to being accurate, it's just crazy to me how badly Missouri wants Lamont Rogers. So, you know, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Missouri, obviously Texas gets him this weekend. He likes Texas. He's been down to Austin a couple times before this weekend. So Texas is a threat there, but I certainly wouldn't call Texas the team to beat. Now, there is another offensive lineman I do think Texas is a team to beat for, and that's John Mills, offensive tackle out of San Francisco. He's visited Texas a couple times, and he's got some ties to Washington, so Washington's a school to watch there, but he really, really likes Texas. I've got my future cast in, I have for a while, for Texas to be the pick for John Mills. So if we're talking offensive linemen, there's a couple good ones coming in this weekend. And, yeah, I think Texas, you know, and actually, you know, there's two more I should mention that I'm trying to get confirmation on, actually, Chad. I've got a couple text messages out. Check my phone to make sure I haven't received a response. But Nick Brooks is an offensive lineman out of Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and then Jonte Newman, who's committed to Texas A&M. Jonte told me it was about a month and a half ago, maybe, I'm just kind of guessing, that he was coming to – this was after he committed to A&M, mind you. He was going to visit Texas this weekend. So I've still got him on the list, but I'm trying to confirm with Jonte or other sources if he's still going to be coming in. And then Nick Brooks, the big offensive lineman, I say big, he's listed at 6'8", 385, so he's real big. But out of Cedar Rapids, ironically, where I was born, Cedar Rapids, Iowa. But he is supposed to be in this weekend, but he did visit USC last weekend, Chad. There's some chatter out on the West Coast that he might have given USC a silent commitment. So I'm trying to confirm if he's still coming into Austin. Like I said, I got a couple text messages out. Who knows? Maybe I'll hear while we're on the air here. But if not, I hope to have an update on Orange Bloods at some point.
6'8", 385. Now he's listed there at a tackle. Is this dude going to play tackle at 6'8", 385?
Probably. I mean, it'd be an awfully tall guard. I'll tell you what, and if he comes in, he'll be a guy that'll be hard to miss if I'm out at the airport this weekend.
Yeah, you think?
Sometimes these dudes sneak past me, but I don't think Nick Brooks will sneak past me. I think I'll recognize him.
He couldn't sneak by much. That's incredible. All right, so let me ask it this way, Jason. You talked about being at the airport. I don't say
that proudly, being at the airport, by the way. It's not my favorite thing. But
you know, first off, earlier I was going to ask if maybe while your kids were growing up, did you ever have to do a combo, stalk the kids at the airport, take the kids with you because you had to babysit?
No, the airport's a very new thing. I did it for the first time like 2 years ago, and it was fruitful one weekend. Then I went back the next weekend, and nobody came through. But now it's just pretty common. It's covering recruiting is kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I don't want to say contagious, but if other people start doing that, then I'm like, hey, I've got to be there too. So it's not my favorite. It feels very paparazzi like to be at the airport. But be honest, the kids kind of like it. I think for the most part, every kid I've talked to down there, they enjoy the attention. It makes them feel important. So it's not the worst thing in the world, but I could certainly think of other things I'd rather be doing on a Sunday afternoon for sure.
Okay, so having said that, I want you to tell me, we're going to take DeCorian Moore and set him off to the side because I think the ultimate answer here would be DeCorian Moore. But what I want to know is who's the guy that you could interact with at the airport that could tell you he's committing or tell you he just committed. Hey, man, I just left Sark's office. I committed, and I'm letting you know. Tell the people, tell the masses. What's the other? Give me somebody else besides DeCorian that would make you throw out the bug-eyed emoji and say, hey, Longhorn fans, your Father's Day just got made. Here you go.
Well, I mentioned John Mills, the offensive lineman. I think he would be one to watch, although I think he'll probably wait a little bit. But I'm telling you, he really likes Texas. I'm going to give you one other one. It's Jonathan Cunningham, who's an offensive. He's like an offensive lineman on my mind. He's a linebacker who's coming in. He really, really likes Texas. I actually asked him that question at a camp. I think it was the Rivals camp. I can't remember exactly which camp I saw him at. But I said, hey, is there a possibility, or what would Texas have to show you on that visit to get you to possibly just shut it down on that visit to Texas? And he goes, you know what? We'll just have to see. So he didn't say, oh, that's just not a possibility. It's not going to happen. I'm looking, he's visited TCU. He does have Kansas coming up after Texas. So it's possible he might want to wait to take that Kansas visit, but he didn't rule out the possibility of making a commitment to Texas if things go exceptionally well on this visit. So he'd be a guy I'd be watching closely too.
So, and real quick, just to kind of circle back around on Caleb Chester a second, I was going to ask you, when he talks about, I mean, if I'm a Texas fan, not only do I like the way the kid presents himself, but he's talking about, hey, I got to get some guys. And he mentioned Fasusi and he mentioned Kalik Lockett. But we've talked about him having a visit scheduled to, what is it, A&M this weekend, Arkansas on the 21st. I was trying to get him to maybe update that schedule for us.
He's canceled them. I can tell you for him.
He has canceled. Okay.
He's not taking those visits. Yeah.
Okay. So in his case, we are talking about he's made his decision. His mom told him, if you're comfortable now, let's go. But they seem to be doing the old Mac Brown deal. Once you're dating, you don't date anybody else.
Yeah, like okay.
I
keep talking about his character. He's not the type, I don't think, that's going to screw around and do that kind of stuff. Yeah, he did tell me those visits are off. Yeah.
Okay, there you go. We just want to make sure we update that for people. And maybe I didn't ask the question in a way to set him up for it, but want to make sure we clarify that with Caleb Chester, the 11th commit. We were able to get him on the show today. He was very, very good. All right, Jason. In terms of the guys, coming in on the 14th. Anybody else you wanted to mention? Anything we haven't hit in terms of this group?
It's a large group, and there's, I actually literally right before we came on the air, I reached out to Andrew Marsh, the wide receiver, and just said, hey, just confirming, because I haven't talked to Andrew in a while. He's very accessible and things, but things have kind of been weirdly quiet with Andrew. So I just asked him, he's a potential 5-star type receiver. So I said, hey, are you still coming into Austin for your official visit this weekend? Andrew did confirm that he'll still be in town for this weekend. So that's a big visit. We're so focused, and I say we, and including fans too, Texas fans, on, Kalik Lockett and Jamie French and DeCorian Moore and Kelshawn Johnson, who'll be in this weekend, Tanu Kynes, who visited last weekend. I feel like Andrew Marsh is kind of, I don't want to say swept under the rug, but people haven't been talking about him as much. I mean, this is a guy that's an elite player. He's a 5-star type. He's in that discussion. Maybe he's not discussed as much because he's not going to commit anytime soon, and he's got a bazillion options that he's still considering. But that's a big visit for Texas, getting Andrew Marsh on campus for an official visit. I've lost count. I could count him in the database, but it's probably close to double-digit times he's visited Texas. But this time is an official visit, so it'll be a good chance for Texas to get him in for a whole weekend and, really try to kind of solidify their standing as one of his top schools.
I was going to double check with you. Marsh is the guy who loves to take visits everywhere, right?
Oh yeah. It's when it's not dead period during the spring and everything else, there was rarely a weekend when he was home doing nothing. He was always on the go.
He's got the suitcase with the college stickers all over it. Probably.
Yeah. Better be a big suitcase because he's visited a lot of them. Yes.
It's everywhere. So that's coming up this weekend. Big names coming in this weekend on the 14th, including DeCorian Moore and Petty John and Marsh, who we just mentioned. Those other two big receivers, French and Lockett, still scheduled to come in on the 21st, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep,
Right,
that's
that's next weekend for those guys. And Caleb Chester told us he's ready to. Interesting that Khalil Lockett's name came up too. Kind of, because they're not exactly in the same part of the state, but clearly there's enough of a knowledge of each other. He says he's going to be trying to recruit Mr. Lockett to jump in this class, and Lockett's coming in next weekend. So
who knows? Caleb said he might even pop up to Austin just to hang out with those dudes for a day. So
yeah,
we'll
that's cool. One other comment I had about Chester, just watching some video, Jason, and I love seeing a 6'2" corner for so many reasons, but we always talk about body control with receivers. I don't know if we talk about it a lot with corners all the time, but I dig the body control with Caleb Chester. The way he controls what he does and how he uses his arms. When you're 6'2", I mean, it's like you got rakes coming off the side of your body that you can use to deflect the ball away or whatever. But it just feels like he has a really good sense of where he is on the field, how to adjust, to whatever the situation is. He just looks really comfortable in a lot of different situations out at corner.
He does, and I think Ketch mentioned those words, like he's just comfortable out there. And he's 6'2", so it sounds kind of silly saying it, but he does do a good job of playing big too. He uses that length to his advantage. He doesn't mind. He doesn't panic if he's trailing a receiver on a slant route by a foot or two, because he knows he's got long arms and he can extend and get up there and make a play on the ball. So I agree. I mean, we asked him today, and he said, "Hey, man, he's coming in as a cornerback, but I like the fact that he's willing and agreeable to say, hey, I'll play wherever. If they need me to play at safety or nickel or wherever, I'll go out there and do it." But he does a good job, certainly, of using that length to his advantage on the outside for sure.
Yeah, and I can't remember if it's a kick or punt return they put in the huddle video, but towards the end of it, there's a play where he's literally the last line of defense, and he's a good 40, 45 yards from the returner at the moment he catches the ball. And if Chester doesn't do what he does, it's a touchdown all the way down the left sideline, and he ends up just tracking the thing down really well. So if you're a Texas fan, go watch that video. Now it's a commit. It's not just a possible commit. So Caleb Chester, thank you so much for your time today. Anything else we need to hit, Jason, or you think we covered it all?
We haven't talked about all the guys coming in, but that'll be a good way to plug. I'll have a in-depth breakdown in our war room tomorrow night on Orange Bloods, going position or guy by guy and kind of talking about where things stand coming into this weekend. As I said, there's a couple guys that are kind of touch and go for this weekend. There's a defensive end, Smith Orogbo, who I don't want to say he's silently committed to Texas Tech, but there's some thought he's silently committed to Texas Tech last weekend. He hasn't gone public with anything yet, so we'll see if he still winds up making that visit. I mentioned Nick Brooks, the big offensive lineman, so we'll see if he comes in. Yeah, I talked about Kelshawn Johnson. I mentioned his name. We haven't talked about him a lot, the speedy receiver out of Hitchcock. He visited A&M last weekend, and A&M's really come out of nowhere in this one, right? Because it's been Texas and Southern Cal. Texas was really close to getting him to commit back in March and April. He held off. He wanted to take his visits. Now A&M kind of creeps in there. He visited A&M last week. There's a lot of buzz that A&M may have surged into the lead there. So we'll see how that works this weekend when he gets back in Austin for another visit. Does Texas push him to possibly commit, try to take that top spot over again? We'll see. But he's an intriguing prospect. He's a big-time speed guy who can play in the slot. The Texas coaches compare him to Xavier Worthy. I mean, it's tough to compare anybody to Xavier Worthy, but he's an electric player that can really stretch the field with his speed.
Yeah, we'll go ahead and throw up the magic QR code here at the end. Check out orangebloods.com. Jason mentioned the War Room on Thursday nights. His 3-2-1 column is out there as well. And there's some Caleb Chester in there if you missed some of those comments.
And there's some good, sorry to interrupt, Chad, if I don't mind saying, we had a couple of good recruiting updates today, including Nick Evers, who's an elite 2026 offensive lineman, and Adam Gorney on our national team had a really good write-up on Troy Hune, who's a 2026 quarterback, who is probably, I think it's safe to say, favoring Texas. So there's quotes in there about Texas and, hey, might he be ready to commit pretty soon? So a couple good recruiting updates on orangebloods.com this afternoon.
Yep. Just remember, if you know your dad well, you know he doesn't want another tie and you know he doesn't want some stupid cufflinks. He wants to be a member at orangebloods.com. All right. He's secretly watching all these shows and he wants to be a member. Make that your gift to dad this Father's Day. Orangebloods.com. Check it out. Also, thank you for liking and subscribing and getting your notifications to Orange Bloods Live. We're up over 19,200 subscribers, if I'm not mistaken. Well on our way to 8 million, but we can't get there till we get to 19,200. Thank you for helping us do that. Thanks to everybody jumping in, whether you're Money B, an actual McCombs Business School graduate, or anybody else that jumped in today. We had multiple. The Macomb School was well represented today. It was like a grad meeting in the chat today. So thank you all for coming in and making Caleb Chester feel welcome. Thanks to over 400 of you that are still in there as we get ready to close up. All right, since we're here on a Wednesday, that means the next recruiting hour will technically be Monday afternoon at 4, but we got a lot of other shows on Orange Bloods Live, of course, coming up for you. Tonight on The Outsiders at 8:30, we'll talk more about the branding of Texas. What are the brands you'd be okay with seeing on the jersey and on the field? And what are the ones that you don't want to see on the jersey and on the field for Texas? We'll get into some of that tonight at 8:30. Check out Orange Bloods Live. Go back and check out the stuff you missed. Have yourself a good, safe Wednesday. Go Mavs. Let's see if we can actually make this a series tonight. Until next week, it's the Recruiting Hour. That's Jason. I'm Chad, and this is Orange Bloods Live.